Thank you, sir, for taking my question. I want to preface that I'm a devout Christian as well as not a racist, which feels like something I shouldn't even have to say in America. But my question, or maybe topic for debate for you today, is I do not believe that Islam and those practicing this religion are compatible with institutions of the West, considering their long track record and the fact that their core book, the Quran, most literally says to, for example, kill the unbelievers, and then once again, just the combative nature.
I don't think you're going to get much debate out of me on that particular question. Though there are some who do want to debate that on the right. And I think there are some people who think that we can form some kind of enduring alliance with Islam. There can be some synthesis, say, between Islam and the liberalism that came out of Christianity and maybe Christian civilization itself. And to them, I would just say, seems like wishful thinking, because to your point, Christendom, which we now call the West, has been in conflict with Islam for roughly 1,400 years. So this began very shortly after the invention of Islam. The first real clash between the Christian West, between Europe and Islam, took place in 732, and it didn't take place in Arabia. It didn't even really take place in the Levant. It took place 150 miles outside of Paris. So Islam has endeavored to conquer the West many times over the course of history. The Battle of Lepanto, 1571, is a good example. The Battle of Vienna after that. Now we just sort of welcome them all in and allow them to defraud our welfare systems and create their religious rituals and buildings all over the world. No, it's not going to work. What do we do about that? Well, we have to recognize a very important word for conservatives, and the word is no. We've had a lot of trouble with the word no in recent years, haven't we? Even the conservatives have had trouble. We used to say, look, we want endless migration as long as it's legal. Flood the country with totally unassimilable cultures, but make sure they fill out the right paperwork before they come in. And that's ridiculous. It's not just the procedural norms that matter, it's the substantive goods that matter. We have believed that our country is totally open. It's just, some people would say it's just an idea, but what's crazy is some people would say it's not even, it's any idea. It's just anything at all. We can close our eyes and be whatever we want to be. But of course, a country that's everything is a country that's nothing. So we have to circumscribe what we mean. And we need to recognize, when we talk about the migration issue, for instance, we need to recognize that the question is not merely legal versus illegal. The question is not merely even numbers. We'll take 500,000 versus 2 million or something. No. The question is, where's the migration coming from? What cultures have the habits, the institutions, the beliefs that work for us? I go back to John Adams. John Adams wrote to Thomas Jefferson in 1813. A little bit of bad blood between two of our founding fathers, but they both agreed in principle on what won the revolution. John Adams says, the general principles of Christianity, in which all the sects agreed, and the general principles of English and American liberty are the principles upon which independence was won. It is simply an historical fact that we are a Christian nation with a history of tolerating all sorts of deviations, but nevertheless with a norm. The differences between the Christian and Muslim conceptions of God are manifest. In Christianity, God sends his son as a mediator between man and God. In Islam, God is wholly transcendent. There is no way to reach him. In Christianity, Christ is the divine logic of the universe, the Logos. In Islam, God is pure will. And so, as Pope Benedict XVI quotes Ibn Hazm, we get some shout-outs for Pope Benedict XVI out there. I don't think for Ibn Hazm. According to Islam, if Allah wanted his followers to worship idols, he could make them do so. These are radically different conceptions. They've led to radically different civilizations, and we can't just paper over those differences. We can be nice and kind, but we can't be everything to everyone. We have to be a specific civilization. And for us, if our civilization is not animated by the Spirit, which has animated us from the beginning, namely the Holy Spirit, our civilization will be nothing at all.
I wanted to ask you, should America implement free healthcare just like Canada and the UK?
Should America have a universal socialized healthcare like Canada? I agree. I agree. No, we should not, though I see why some people want us to, because the American healthcare system is really messed up. Worth pointing out that the American healthcare system was created almost entirely by Franklin Roosevelt, Lyndon Johnson, and Barack Obama. So, it doesn't have a great track record on who built it. I'm not surprised it hasn't worked out. And yet it's still preferable to what you see in Canada, because the conclusion of the Canadian healthcare system is death. And I mean that literally. A huge number of Canadians now every single year are killed, I think it's over 5%, are killed through government-encouraged physician-assisted suicide, which is contrary to the Hippocratic Oath and leads literally to the suicide of the whole country. Furthermore, though, you see a major rationing of care. So women who are under the age of 50 have a reasonable chance of getting breast cancer procedures in Canada. Women who are over the age of 70 basically do not. Something like 80% of women who are waiting for breast cancer surgeries over that age just did not get the procedures because the government said they were old enough and they would rather ration the care and let the older women die. That's a ghastly kind of system. Furthermore, you have Canadians waiting months and months, years and years for procedures, and many of whom will die because of that. You hear stories coming out of Canada, coming out of the United Kingdom, of people who have cancer in particular, who simply will not be given chemotherapy by the horrific regimes that have a monopoly on healthcare up there. And so what are they offered instead? They're offered the privilege of killing themselves. This is completely contrary to any sense of moral goodness. It's totally inhuman. It is as tyrannical as any government policy could be. I've long observed that Canada is America's evil top hat. George Washington did not conquer it for a reason, and I think we should leave them be and not adopt their terrible practices.
My question is that people love to say that America has no culture. How do we combat the diversity is our strength message and put the focus back on making American values and American traditions back in the mainstream and worthy of our protection again?
That America has no culture? Yeah, well, I guess that would explain why the entire world is trying to come here, actually, because if you claim that America's a vacuum, perhaps that's why we're sucking up everybody from all around the world. That's one explanation. I think the other one is we obviously have a culture, and the culture is the envy of the world, and everyone wants, at the very least, to experience the fruits of that culture and benefit from them, even if they don't want to participate in that culture or sacrifice for that culture. So it's totally ridiculous. One way to combat the idea that America has no culture, no identity, it's just an idea or any idea or nothing at all. Come on in, Ilhan Omar. The one way to combat that is to travel anywhere else in the world. Especially because a lot of us have some immigrant background, maybe a quarter this or half that. And when you go, well, I'll speak from my own experience because a quarter of my family is from England. Some of them came over on the Mayflower, which is a great cigar brand, by the way. And then a quarter of them are, did I mention that? And then a quarter of them are Irish. I don't really look it. And then the other, a quarter Italian and a quarter Sicilian.
Same.
So I remember I was a teenager. The first time I went to Italy, I said, I'm going to be coming home. This will be like visiting my people. And then I go there and I think, wait, there's a bunch of foreigners. What are you talking about, might be? I don't know. And I speak Italian, by the way. But I said, this is crazy. I went to a sandwich shop. It was the most famous sandwich shop in Siena. I go there to get a sandwich at lunchtime. It's closed. I wait there 45 minutes. The guy rolls up, this Italian, and he finally opens it. I said, can I buy a sandwich here? He says, and no, there's no bread. I said, what do you mean there's no bread? He said, I don't have bread. I got to go get a bread. I said, well, should I wait? Should I go? He goes, I don't care what you do. You wait, you go. I said, why don't you have capitalism in this country? Why do I have to explain to you? And I realized in that moment, if not earlier, I'm an American. Yeah. You're all Americans. You are USA. Antonin Scalia, the late great Supreme Court Justice, told this story when he was in school. He studied for a year in Switzerland. And he went to Switzerland. He goes to Italy. He doesn't feel that. He goes to England. This big, gigantic Sicilian man. He goes to England, and he feels more at home in England than anywhere else he had been in the world, other than America. Why? Because it's the closest to the American culture. Because our culture has come from the English culture. And so what we have to conclude from that is despite the waves of mass migration, despite all the nonsense about diversity as our strength and America's a nation of immigrants or whatever. No, America's a real country with a real people, with real traditions and habits, many of which we can't even articulate. And that's a special thing. That's what has attracted people. And if you want to continue to flourish, if you even want to continue attracting people, that's what you have to hold on to. That's a real particular thing. It can't be universalized with some dumb slogan. And if people didn't like it or if it didn't really exist, the whole world wouldn't be clamoring to get here. Thank you very much. Wonderful to be with all of you.